Good afternoon. It is and it's time to call the Public Utilities and Green Committee meeting to order. And I'd like to take a roll call, if I could, please.
Freeman.
Here.
McKittrick. Connor. Mosley. Here. And Holland.
Aye.
Okay, you have all committee members present except for McKittrick and Connor, but you do have a quorum.
Thank you. Have a motion to accept the minutes of the meeting.
Second.
The motion is second. All in favor, please let it be saying aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. We have new items coming. The first is an ordinance authorizing the purchasing agent to enter into a contract or contracts without the formality of publicly advertising and configuration of 6 Bettis Electric, formerly EIM, electric motor, which are necessary to meet water treatment specifications mandated by the Environmental Protection Agency and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of committee. A few months back, we had this same product that a home made for us. They're custom made of Howard and North Street, right at the corner there, the company. So we have 25 of these valves, and each one of the valves has its own actuator. We did 10. What this does is, on a power outage, they use a DC volt actuator to close the valve. Closing it fully, and what happens, we could end up flooding the main plant basement. So that's what these are for.
Okay, very good. Questions or comments from committee members, or for that matter, any other council members? For the record, we do have Mr. McKittrick. All right, what would be your pleasure?
Consent's fine.
Consent?
Yes.
All right. Looking for a motion for consent?
Motion for consent.
And second? Second? Anyone? Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please let it be known.
Aye.
Aye.
Abstention.
Oh, okay. This is a roll call then.
Holland.
Abstain.
3-0 with 1 abstention.
Thank you. The next is a resolution expressing support for the mission of Akron Waterways Renewed to invest in Akron's environmental future by building infrastructure for the next century that will protect public health and maintain water of the highest quality in the most effective while providing local jobs for the citizens of Akron, expressing support for the proposed Third Amendment to the 2014 consent decree as lodged by the United States District Court for the District of Ohio in case number 509-CV-00272 on February 13th, 2023, and declaring. Ludell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of committee. This is our third amendment to the consent decree. We use a plan for this to be our last, but we will have one more after this report. Pat Selman is here with me. I'm explain high level of what this is. This is to the tunnel on the north side, and the consent decree is a 24-foot diameter. It's separating this whole area. So out of that study that we found, the tunnel was really oversized. And so we went back and remodeled it as a 16-foot diameter tunnel. It's about a mile longer, just about a mile long road, and it comes plant. It goes under Riverside Drive. Very few easements are needed. Brought some of those to you last week or the week before, but the savings of this alone is about $66 million off the consent decree, which is huge, and that is due to the increased cost of both projects. So to the formality of where we're at right now with the court and what this public comment period we're in right now, and your letter of support, what it'll do for us. So Pat.
do a very, very brief update. We have been implementing all the elements of the consent decree, and actually of the major projects, we have completed 24 of the 26 major projects. Actually includes construction of 5 storage basins, 5 green storage conveyance separation projects, 5 separations, pump stabilization in the main outfall, several rehabilitations and lining projects, extensive cleaning and inspections of all the sewers in the city of Akron, and we're quickly approaching about $800 million that has been spent towards the program. And upon completion of this north side project, we will be and also in a typical year. Give you a rough idea, and also a number of events. We'll be eliminating 99.7% of the combined sewer overflow events from when we started. We started out at 2.4 billion gallons of overflow. With completion of the north side tunnel, we'll be down to 100 in an average year, typical year. So that's 2.4 billion to 100 million with completion of the north side tunnel. One thing we're really proud of is, I think, as most of you are aware, we've actually amended the consent decree twice to provide more effective, more efficient projects. We have completed all of the projects related to those first 2 amendments, and they have been successfully completed, which we're really proud of to say when we consent decree, we do it for a purpose, and the projects have been successful where we have. So Chris is right, we're back to the 3rd time amending the consent. And what this really involves is the consent decree required us to construct a 24-foot diameter tunnel in North Hill. Those of you remember, in fact, probably the last time we gave you an update, we were actually looking at separating sewers and eliminating the tunnel. When we went through the requirements to determine if we could separate the sewers, we probably developed one of the most sophisticated hydraulic models in the country, because we actually went to every house and modeled the flow coming from that house, going down that street, going to that sewer, going all the way to our interceptor. In the process of doing that, we had to look at removing both private clean water connections, which are like downspouts, foundation drains, those kind of things, and also public ones, which would be like your storm inlets on the street. We showed that we could do that project of separating all sewers, but the cost became excessive, even higher than what the 24-foot tunnel was.
Right.
So in the process of doing that, we came back and looked at our model again and said, well, now that we have this model, just what size interceptor is required for that tunnel? And it actually came out that a 16.5-foot tunnel would meet the same requirements of the 24-foot tunnel. It would still be no overflows in a typical year, and it would meet all the requirements that we had in regards to providing the larger tunnel. In fact, actually exceeded the performance requirements of the larger tunnel. So obviously we looked at the cost, and the savings, as Chris pointed out, is over $66 million to build the smaller tunnel compared to the larger ones. And some additional benefits even to that is we looked at one area where we had a pretty good sized shaft that had to go in to connect the local sewer down to the tunnel. We determined that we could actually do a sewer separation in that area instead of building the bigger shaft. So we are actually separating one of the smaller areas that go to the tunnel. And in that area, we can also then remove any lead surfaces that are there. We can improve the street. We'll build a new storm sewer and rehab the line into a sanitary sewer. So that actually, now we're projecting will take us up to controlling the overflows up to what we call a 5-year storm frequency. And talk about our 1-year typical year, will be now up to a 5-year, and we've actually measured it up to a 100-year to show this performance, even doing the smaller tunnel. So that kind of brings us then to what this amendment is all about. We have received approval on the amendment, and US EPA actually filed the amendment in federal court. And when you think of what it took to get agreement between the city of Akron, the state of Ohio, the Ohio Attorney General, Ohio EPA, US EPA Region 5, US EPA in Washington, and the Department of Justice in San Francisco, you can see that this was quite an undertaking to get all of their agreement so that we're filing a with every amendment. The amendment showed up in the Federal Register for public comment, and that was back on February 17th, and the comment period runs until March 20th. So at this point, actually we have a meeting late tomorrow morning. If anybody's interested, I'll give you the full hour and a half of Akron Waterways Renewed, if you're interested. And I know some of you council members are members of our stakeholder groups. You're already invited. But we are also then soliciting support from all of our stakeholders. People, you know, like the Metro Parks and National Park and Summit County and City. Everybody that really touches us in regards to the project. The Friends of Crooked River, don't want to leave them out. So we're asking City Council for a resolution in support of this amendment, and we until March 20th to get it submitted to the register publication. And have time for US EPA to prepare a final response to this based on the comment. Then formally with the public comments, and then it'll be up to the federal court to say yes or no at that point, and we'll go from there. But we again really ask for your approval and support of this resolution. And any questions?
If we were to give you a trophy on its crest, would you want a sewer pipe or a rack? Which
Manhole cover.
Just continue the PRS every month. That's all I want.
just, you know, it's just, I'm dumbfounded what has transpired. You know, Ohio that we were running against at that time in history. So, and I was surprised to see you when I walked in the room today, but glad you're here. And this, you know, city really is not taking away anything from any of the other employees who really are in your debt.
No,
And we'll do everything we can to keep that PERS rolling in. But anyone that has a comment like to offer them, I'll start with, see, I forget who's on my committee here. Okay, let me start with Ms. Mosley.
Thank you. Just briefly, I want to, first of all, I want to add my name to the resolution unless we're doing one separately. In committee done from the onset, I have many of these projects. Work that you all have been able to do has been fascinating. My one CSO project has like a butterfly farm, and the kids sit and wait to see the butterflies, and the other one has fish though. The cats might be eating the fish. And it's
fish
just,
is there.
Are they there? I'm going to look again today.
Well, there's no fish, but the design is a fish.
Right, I saw that, but I'm going to look. I'm like, fish, the cats are dead, going to eat them. I know that you've met all the requirements, so forth with the courts and the EP. How much? I know there was some difference between the feet away. I might be putting you on the spot, but if you could.
Number off the top of my head, but I can definitely get it to you. And yes, those green projects in your ward were part of that second amendment that we did.
Yeah, so
But yeah, I don't have that number right.
Green. That
Okay.
Sure.
Obviously, Friday, it started raining 11 a.m., 12, and it rained hard, okay?
Yeah.
What we started with this program with, that's all the construction you've seen, like, what are they doing? Lining a sewer or making a spot repair. You know, we only had 2 calls for service by midnight, which means anticipating that it could have been there water. We're not back. Ago, he probably would have been out all night. But our residents have really seen, and you know, when it isn't back, you don't think about it as much. But it was in your neighborhood, Mike. I mean, Councilman Freeman. I'm sorry. down there off of Louisiana and California, they would have been underwater. You know,
That's
and I've been apprehensive to say this, but very well.
Might as well. And certainly add my congratulations and appreciation. Here's the thing. It takes a certain amount of luck to have a consent decree amended, but the work, the lift, it feels like it was just last week that we heard the initial proposal to ask for an amendment. I think many of us understand.
It's been over a year and a half.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think exactly what had to go in, and the net result, I think that maybe we're close to an issue. Maybe we don't necessarily absolutely get behind the idea that there are no basements backed up,
Right.
that survived an epic rainstorm on Friday, that we have every reason to believe that this investment that we've all made as a city, tangible, measurable results. But let's take a moment. 60 effort. I appreciate all of this so much. Thank you.
Wonderful comments, thank you. Mr. Mount?
Absolutely note the importance and appreciate that a lot of time has been spent in about this. You have, $500 million worth of infrastructure right there, work being done at any given.
who are supporting this effort, and who, thanks to Mr. Solomon and the folks within our Akron Waterways Renewed program, have solicited, and now they're partners with us. And as one who was in those, the lift, it's hard to communicate to people what exactly that is, because there's so many checkoffs that has to be done, and as a result of having a consent decree, there's even more, of course. But the thing of it is having been one meeting with the federal EPA, I didn't meet with the Ohio, but the federal piece, and the pushback that you get in those meetings, it's really something. And to work through that and to be able to have more flexibility, because there was a time during this whole program where there was no flexibility, where green was not in play. If you probably recall that, Mr. Freeman, but it's for not only Akron but communities all across the country that this flexibility and looking at those options, because as time proceeds, there is new and newer engineering standards that can be shifted and changed from gray to green, and that's what we've seen, and it's good all across the board. Thanks.
Absolutely.
If I could just add one more piece, it's all our employees, from the top to the bottom, especially in the whole sewer operation. And I mean, all our employees in Public Works, but, you know, the dedication that they have to have in managing this thing and dewatering, you know, that's why the tunnel hasn't overflowed, because they're sitting there at the council and they're watching, and there's people out there, you know, we can get more flow to the plant. You know, I think most of you know Vin Sampelli. I think he's got 35 years. He told me when he started, they couldn't accept 100 million gallons at the plant. It would all bypass right to the river 35 years ago. Okay, we had flows Friday about 240 million gallons. That's what the flows were getting accepted. We had no bypasses at the plant on Friday night. That's just one example. So, you know, these guys and gals down there, the tunnel was half full. CSSF, which most of you know is RAC 40, it was full. Some of the other basins were half full. Yesterday morning, I'd say when I got back from church, I looked, everything was empty. They had dewatered all that flow back to the trunk line, back to the plant, full treatment, and everything was empty in case it rains today. And that's not really in our consent decree. That's stuff that they do every day, you know. There's nothing that says that that basin has to be dewatered immediately, okay? But they do it. They're dewatering as the storm's going on. They're watching the radar. They're doing those things. They're watching that flow like, yeah, we can start treating, getting this out of the system and getting it treated. So I know Councilwoman Mosley, when we did RAC 22 down there, it's like we're going to put a roof on it, and Pat can tell you, when we're walking in the EPA office in Chicago, the mayor and I are like screaming at each other, I'm not putting a roof on it, and the mayor's going, we're putting a roof on it, and I said, no, we're not. But that's one of the things they do. They dewater it, and they get that out of there, and there's no odors. I mean, none. So they're really doing a good job down there.
All right, do I have a motion to suspend the rules on this?
So moved.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, great. Yeah, thank you. This kind of feels like celebration time, so thank you. Pat, good to see you. Okay, we are adjourned. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. See, you got me all worked up about it. All right. Let's see. Wait, that was, we covered both items, correct?
You did.
Okay,
Yeah,
now
I
we're
was
gonna
just getting ready
adjourn
to.
in 60 and then in 60 seconds, we're going to go to another committee meeting. Thank you. We are adjourned.
Our next committee will be the Budget and Finance Committee meeting. Those committee members are Freeman, Amobian, Malik, Baylor, and Lombardo. You do have all committee members present. If you want to just give a moment for everyone to turn on cameras and get to their seats. Thanks so much.
What's that? Oh, okay. Good afternoon. Running just a little bit behind here. It's 3:08, and I'd like to call the Budget and Finance Committee meeting to order. Do I have, may I have a roll call, please?
Freeman.
Aye.
Amobian. Present. Malik.
Aye.
Baylor. Aye. Lombardo. Aye. All committee members are present.
Excellent. And a motion to accept the minutes from the last meeting, please?
Second.
We have a motion, a second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. We have 3 items today. The first item is an ordinance authorizing an agreement between AFS CME Local 1360 Bargaining Unit and the City of Akron regarding employee wage increases and benefit changes through calendar year 2025 and declaring an emergency. Mr. Fricker?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So ASME is the final of our bargaining units to come to an agreement. As you know, they were a little bit different than the others. They had a 1-year agreement last year, and then therefore this is a new 3-year agreement that they agreed to this year. So it includes the same 4% cost of living increase, this year as all of the other bargaining units got. So all of the city employees and all of the bargaining unit employees and non-bargaining are all 4% cost of living increases this year. The ASME agreement will also have a 4% cost of living next year, and then a 2% cost of living in 2025. Also included in this agreement are the same premium contribution rates that were applied to all of the other city employees for medical benefits.
And 2 or 3 weeks ago, that was what, the non-bargaining that we passed?
Correct,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, so questions from committee members? Oh, Mr. Malik?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Fricker. I guess one notable thing, I think that third year seems different from some of the other negotiated contracts in that it's a 2% increase. Is there a reason why that was negotiated?
So that was negotiated. So keep in mind that ASME will now be the only bargaining unit that has an agreement in place for 2025. So the others were for 22, 23, 24, and because ASME went a year after everyone else, that's the only cost of living that is in place for 2025.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Tonight?
We would like to pass this one tonight, yes.
Okay, very good. Do I have a motion for suspension of the rules?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. Very good. Any opposed? Okay, great. So next, we have a resolution adopting an annual operating budget for the fiscal year 2023 and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is the first of two pieces associated with the 2023 operating budget. There's a resolution and then also the appropriation ordinance is the next piece that will be read in. I'll share my thoughts today with the next piece, but this this goes in tandem with the appropriation ordinance, so we're asking for time on this piece.
Okay, do I have a motion for time?
So moved.
Looking for a second? Second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? Thank you. Next, we have an ordinance to make the annual appropriation for the current expenses, other expenditures, and the capital outlays of the City of Akron for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2023, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is the 2023 appropriation ordinance. This budget will come in at about $798 million. So for comparison, last year's was about $773 million, so this is an increase of about $25 million. In the budget hearings, we'll explain all of the various differences and the reasons for those increases. About $10 million of that increase does come in our general fund, and we'll explain all the reasons behind all of that. We put the ordinance in this morning. I apologize, we were working on it throughout the weekend. We will get all of the documents to council that we typically present during the budget hearings in the next day or two. So we are putting those together right now. We're also gathering all of the goals and objective documents from the various departments.
Okay, very good. All right. Questions or comments? Mr. Malik?
I just want to say thank you for being willing to get those documents to us about a week early. That really does help.
Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, and I'll be doing, typically I do a budget overview, so I'll be doing it at Finance Committee next Monday, and then we have the individual department hearings on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of next week.
Great. And just for everybody's, I mean, you know this, we'll be meeting Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, commencing at 3 p.m.
Correct.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so we want to continue to take
time on this,
time
please,
on
yeah.
this.
Motion for time.
Motion for time and a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Aye. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. And we are adjourned at 3:14. Thank you.
That is the final committee meeting of the day. Council will meet at 7 p.m. tonight. Thank you.